Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us today. We're really looking forward to hearing about AccountKit. AccountKit is a toolkit made for accountants and bookkeepers where you get to pick from a bunch of tools that automate, centralise and streamline your day-to-day functions. Some examples from AccountKit include the much-loved inter-entity loan reconciliations, auto equipment finance, Division 7A calculator, and the client map. For business structure or your tech stack software map. So I'd like to hand over to you, Paul, for your presentation. Thank you very much for joining us. And as Paul does his presentation, you do have access to the chat area, so I do encourage you to chat in there. And then towards the end, he'll open up for Q&A and be around to answer all of your questions.
Brilliant. No worries. Well, thanks, Heather. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and participate in your lunchtime, and thank you once again for the singing. It has left a warm sensation in my heart. So yeah, today I'm really excited to talk about AccountKit. It really is a passion of mine, and my aim today is to give you a bit of a high-level overview of how we feel like we're bringing this high-performance accounting into accountants and bookkeepers' lives. So there's no such thing that's off topic. So if you've got questions anywhere, especially towards the end, ask what you like. I'm very transparent about everything within our own practice and AccountKit too, for that matter. But this stuff is already half covered already. But I am the co-founder of AccountKit and director of Murray Business Solutions with my beautiful wife, and I'm also a father of 3 and our very special dog Bingo. I had to include Bingo because obviously Heather's got a beautiful border collie puppy as well. So they are the loves of my life. So why did we build AccountKit in the first place? So as Heather mentioned, this is a suite of tools for accountants and bookkeepers, and our aim to do this, to build this, is to fill gaps in your cloud accounting software stack. So we came from Reckon APS, and we used a lot of server-based software and spreadsheets and so forth. So we saw opportunities in moving to the cloud to build some stuff that would fill those gaps. We also saw a lot of opportunities to minimize, click, automate, streamline the work that we do. It's no surprise if you're in the accounting and bookkeeping world that all this stuff is quite repetitious in our day-to-day. So we figured that we could automate some of this stuff and just make it a lot easier and streamline what we're doing. We can bring more value to our clients. And then we can bring the information, again, our stuff usually is all over our server in different software packages. If we can centralize the information, then this is going to be a good thing for us as well. So in terms of what it works well for, well, accountants and bookkeepers are our core market. And ideally, you'd be primarily Xero-based clients. That's where really all the power comes from. Xero Practice Manager is not a must, but it certainly gives you a lot more power with the amount of client information that we can push and pull. And even if you're a part of a large business or family group, we've got some large groups that use AccountKit to help, even like internal finance departments make use of AccountKit as well. And if you like to save time and make compliance tasks fun, I think that's a given too. In terms of what it's not really ideal for, well, it's accountants and bookkeepers who don't have many clients on Xero. There's not a huge amount of value to be had at this point. If you don't use Xero Practice Manager, and you don't like saving time and making compliance tasks fun. Obviously a bit tongue-in-cheek there, but you'll get the idea as we go through some of this stuff. So we are a toolkit. There's lots of tools within here, and from our point of view, it's about choosing the tools that fill pain points within your own business or where you see opportunity. And different tools are going to resonate depending on what else other tools are within your practice tech stack. So the administration tools will resonate with your admin team, whereas something like compliance and bookkeeping, these are the ones that our bookkeepers and accountants absolutely love, as opposed to the consulting and other opportunities. And so today I'm not going to go through all these. It's just too much. It takes me too long. So I'm just going to focus on a few of these tools, and you'll see how all this gets consolidated here under our client group view. And that really is the core behind AccountKit. And where do we fit within the broader ecosystem? We have so many apps in the ecosystem these days, so it's hard to understand where things fit. So I look at the Xero donut, I look at these core practice applications, and I see them as the boulders of the industry. They fulfill big functions, whether it be document management, whether it be about marketing, corporate compliance. And I see ourselves really as the grains of sand that slide into all those different gaps and help us do what we do in a much more efficient manner, and that no one else really touches for the most part. Now, integrations are obviously key. Xero Practice Manager is at the core here, so we push and pull everything relating to our client data, the relationships, contacts, addresses, you name it, all that sort of stuff we'll push and pull from Xero Practice Manager. Whereas Xero Blue, we have a full sync of the ledger, so we're basically bringing every single journal aligned. So in theory, if we wanted to build an account transactions report that we like, then we could do that. We have the information in the background available for us, but that gives us the power. It does take us a long time to sync that data in, because sometimes it's millions of lines of data that we're bringing in, but once we sync it, we can do amazing things. And then from there, it's about choice. So depending on what sort of document management system you're using, you get to choose what you want to use. We don't really mind as long as it brings value. And you can see we've got a bunch of other apps that do things, anything from instant messaging or even just previewing information from, say, CAS 360 or now Infinity. We do have FY docs in the pipeline as well, and in time we'd hope to do these other through Class, Practice Edition and Greatsoft, we hope, one day. All right, so that's enough of me rabbiting on. Let's dive on into the actual demo. So this is AccountKit. Now, AccountKit can be rebranded to your practice, and it's important to us that this feels like an extension of yourself. So the colors will become yours, your logo, everything that outputs from the system reflects your practice. And so we just surface some useful information, whether it be about client birthday or team birthdays, if you want to import your ATO lodgement data. If you happen to have now Infinity or CAS 360, we bring some dashboardy information around the ASIC inbox. So, and this really ties into that concept of centralizing information, reducing the clicks. You know, I'm bringing this information here. And if I need to action it, then it's just a matter of clicking on the information and going to where I need to go to then follow that through. And you'll see that theme really does carry through all of AccountKit. I can move across my multitude of tabs. The setup process, really important again for us for this to be a simple process. If you are on Xero Practice Manager, then it's just a matter of integrating here, and then we'll sync all the XPM data into here. And that can take anywhere from 5 minutes to half an hour, depending on how big the XPM database is. And you can see there's also a bunch of other integrations you can kick off from here, as well as your document management. And then beyond that, if there are very specific integration settings per user as well. Again, it's very important that your user permissions carry across from AccountKit into the underlying integration so people can't access things they shouldn't be able to access. All right, close those ones. So you've gone through the thinking process, you've got all your client data in here. So if you're opening up Xero Practice Manager, your list there will reflect the same as this. And you can see I've got a lot of integrations in here. This is not normal. You would normally only have 3 maybe or 4 at most in here. But you can see from here, I'm able to click through to underlying details directly from this particular view. So just by way of example, that'll take me straight to that client within XPM. And similarly so, straight to that client in Xero, reinforcing that idea of single click through to get where I need to go. Now, if I drill into the detail, you can see within here, all the normal details you'd see within the client data and XPM, but you're also able to add your business names in here. We track our business name register, corporate key, captured in here as well. But we do something unique. We capture also full client history, really useful when you've got lots of integrations making changes to our client data. In here, we're able to tell what's changing what from our point of view, which is tremendously useful. But again, from here, I can then go straight to the client as required here, or even if I want to surface some information right from here, I can actually just get live data straight from, say, CAS 360 and now Infinity without actually going into the system at all. It just surfaces it from here. And that's the same also for the integrations into the DMS system. So I can preview the folder structures and files directly from the client folder as well. The heart of it all is the client group. So the client group here, you can see it's the Bull family group. And whether a bookkeeper or accountant, typically we deal with things in groups. And where you'll see that relevant comes into the different tools in the way that we surface the information. So here, all the entities within the family group, all the integration links from here and within here as well, everything like all the equipment finance schedules. So all the different tools are then summarized by family group within here. And I mean, my favorite with all these is correspondence, where you can send your emails into here, do file notes, meeting notes, phone call summaries, and so forth are all captured within here. So with this in the back of your mind, understanding that we're consolidating client group information here on this one view, let's dive on to some of the detail. So the Correspondence Register started off as being one of our own internal favorites because keeping file notes for our clients was really hard. We had stuff being stored into spreadsheets, into CRMs, into lots of different places. The idea of this is to reduce that barrier to entry to make good file notes and to share it with our team. So whether I'm taking a phone message, and let's just do a real quick example here, Ashley, and that's with regards to this client. Now we do surface some information here that might be useful. These are unique client notes that we can share across an entire client group. I can see pertinent information, and then from here, I can then send it through as a file message. Now this can flow through to Slack if you've got that, or Teams, and you'll get a notification. And when you get that, you can then click back through to AccountKit, and everything is pre-populated with all the details you need to do that. So it's one click away, and we're taking file notes for our clients. So something we say to our team is, I don't really care if you're only doing dot points are better than no points. And from there, it's a super simple thing here. So Carolyn, for you, I can share it with my team members who need to know about this information. So I can never guarantee in the past that our team members would read file notes given where they were buried. Here, at least I know it's gone through their email, they can skim file notes and they're aware of stuff as and when it happens. Now, this has become increasingly important as we build out our workflow tool, which I'll give you a sneak preview today as well. Now, the other thing I really love about this, let's just say I'm going to do a meeting, or actually maybe we'll do an email. So if you connect your email system to here, you can send emails direct, and we've got these things called email templates. And so these are really useful templates with a whole bunch of placeholders and so forth that you can then use to fill in details in our emails. And that there also flows through into Gmail as well. So if we jump over to Gmail or Google Drive, or even Office 365, we've got a panel here. And what we can see in here is I can then go in here and can assign emails directly to a client, or even better, if I wanted to do a brand new email, I can use AccountKit simply like a address book. So again, Ashley, with regards to this, and I want to use the activity statement review, I can bring in some attachments. Hit insert, you can see it's now populated this email with that template email, which I absolutely love. Just helps us standardize the way we do things. All right, so moving on from correspondence, the hot favorite with accountants and bookkeepers worldwide is this tool here, and it's my personal favorite because it saves me so many hours every single month. So I still do a lot of the books for our own entities because I quite enjoy the process. And it would normally take me around an hour to 2 hours per month to reconcile a good 40 transactions across 4 different entities, whereas I can do it in under 4 minutes these days. So what we can see here, if I toggle this on, I can see all the entities within the family group. I can see all the loans associated with these entities. Not many in this particular example, but. And then you get this list of transactions. And the way that works is, you can see here, I've got 2 entities. So operating company, for example, family trust, and we've got a loan account, and we've got 3 beneficiary accounts over here. And you can have as many or as little accounts as you like. From there, we bring all that data into the system. So you can see there's heaps of transactions. So normally this is an account transactions report in Xero exported to Excel, or you can have multiple Xero windows open in incognito mode, so that you can try and match off transactions and do a balance of those entries. So in here, I can do this matching process because it kind of feels good. More ideally, we'd run the auto match. And this is going to find all those logical matches, the transfers between accounts or entries already done. So you can see I've already just taken care of something that would have taken me at least half an hour to an hour to go through and do all that. Now, once I've done with all the transactions there, the next step is how do I code the balance of them? And from here, I can do a filter. So it's really important to get narrations consistent. It makes this process a lot easier. I can select all those transactions and I can prepare the entries. So this is actually going to prepare 13 journals. And before you get concerned about the volume of journals in Xero, what it means, because this narration is consistent, really easy to select and archive in bulk. And this is one of those jobs we do as we go. All right, let's just do this. And actually, 4925. So what I'm going to do in this particular example, just for argument's sake, is I'm now going to split the transaction. So the first half of the journal was already done. I've just taken care of the second half of the journal. And this little item here is lit up. And this is our copy coding function. So that's now going to roll through the same coding across all the transactions. And if we scroll all the way down, you can see it's now split and coded all entries exactly the same way as that first entry. So you can imagine if you got narrations just right, really easy to go through and code entries in bulk, and then we hit post and push them all into Xero. So you might see that's why I absolutely love the Interentity Loan tool. Continuing to move on, equipment finance. Again, this is another one that's really loved by the accountants and bookkeepers out there. For different reasons, and there's an automation piece associated with this. It's also about regular review of our client data to keep things up to date and making sure we're dealing with queries when they fall due, as opposed to when we're doing the compliance work or BAS work sometime down the track and the client's already forgotten what they did. Now, the core great thing, I think, is this ability to quickly generate something called like a cash flow commitments report. So often banks and accountants and so forth will be asking for this sort of information. And it's a great discussion point for our clients as well, helping them to understand where their cash is going, or outputting this to PDF and providing it to the bank manager before they establish new finance schedules. But the core thing in here, if I jump into, let's just do this one, is we build out the schedule within here. And you can see I've linked back to some source documents, in this case on Google Drive. We've defined the accounts in Xero, and we've started posting from the 30th of June 16. And we're cross-checking to make sure these entries are in balance the whole way through. So obviously we've got a bank rule set up in Xero, coding it to the appropriate liability account, and we post then the interest from there. Now, if it falls out of balance, then you can always click on this to see where it's fallen out of balance. In this case, it's really obvious. So I can just grab that transaction in Xero. I can recode it, and then I can refresh the transactions in Xero. But you might find it's something else. Maybe the payment's stopped because they've been deferred, or maybe they've paid out the schedule. And it's a prompt for us to ring the client and say, can you provide us with the finance documentation for payout? Otherwise, you can run things like a one-off event to then process the correcting entries from here. All right, let's get moving forward. Division 7A, of course, most suitable to the accounting side of things. It takes a process that is not necessarily an awesome process because the ATO calculator is really cumbersome and slow, and makes it a beautiful process. At least I can say that as an accountant because this is not a great process. We have a spreadsheet otherwise that did the job, but it was still a very manual process with prone to overriding formulas and the like. So here I can see at a glance there are 6 Div 7A loans. I can see all the minimum payments and dividend requirements. I can dive into those that are connected to Xero, and I can see the entries within Xero. I can recode entries direct from Xero from within here, and that'll refresh my transactions. Otherwise, really all I want to do is assign any credits to reduce a minimum payment. So let's just assign that one. I could split them if I want to. In this case, I'm just going to do single payments. And you'll note that it's plugged them up the top here. It's changed my interest calculations, and it's updated my minimum payment. So it's reduced that. So once you've dealt with all your loan accounts, you've dealt with all your credits and debits, the next question around this stuff is, I've now finished all that I need to do with dividends. So I've finished all the work, and now I need to know how much of a dividend I need to do. So at minimum, we have to do this across all our loans. But the reality is often we want to top that up. So we can always run a payout on one of these here, and then I can top up the dividend to your heart's content if you want to round it up. Update the details, all your values recalculate, and then we can post those entries direct into Xero. Now, the other side of the coin is maybe there needs to be some sort of change. It's really simple just to go back. We can void the entries in here, recalculate the dividend, and repost those entries straight back into Xero. Now, I see there's some questions coming through. I will address them afterwards. So don't worry, we'll come back to this soon. Now, the last of the main tools I want to show you is the business structure diagram tool. So this is about structure diagrams. It's about anything you want to visualize for your client. You'll see when I do select an entity, the data on the right here reflects information from Xero Practice Manager. I can change and add relationships direct from here, and I know they'll flow back into XPM. But these are really, really super flexible, depending on the types of information I want to present to our clients. So I can toggle information on and off throughout here. I can change themes, and you can create your own themes in doing so as well, depending on how you like to present information to your clients. Otherwise, it's just a matter of dropping entities onto the canvas and drawing lines between entities and so forth. I could spend an hour on this alone, but I'll just show you some other examples instead. So you can do things like process mapping, or something as beautiful as this, which is a software map. So often we help our clients transition software between systems, and this helps visualize how things are going to flow between the different software applications in here as well. So it's a nice visual thing that you can add to your proposal for your client. Now, something we added late last year, last little addition, you can obviously go through here and just drop things onto the canvas to build a diagram, but more ideally, we would run something like this. So let's just do a build of a diagram, and it'll beautifully handle simple diagrams like that. Bigger diagrams, you wouldn't execute in quite the same way, but it does streamline that whole process significantly as well. Now, I know I've gone through it a million miles now. We'll have question time in a second. The last thing I want to show you is a quick sneak peek of where we're heading, because this is really relevant. So we're building out our own workflow tool, and you see that the layout has changed substantially. We're doing a rebuild of a whole bunch of stuff in the background, and it's just around workflow. And there's some great tools out there. You know, we love our friends at FY Docs. We love some of these other tools out there, and we're just providing another opportunity for people to manage their workflow in a way as flexibly as possible. So this is early days, end of year. We're looking at our first release, but the idea is about having super flexible processes and workflows built into the system here with real-time collaboration and the ability to manipulate and change all this thing to your heart's content. You can see there's lots of flexibility around this. So our next step over the next little while is repeating task templates. There's a whole lot of complexity of coolness we're going to do in that space as well as that real-time collaboration piece. So don't have much more to show on that front, but that there is where we're heading with things. All right, so let me start back over here. And then from there, we are good to go into a little bit of question time. Otherwise, lots of information can be found. We're floating around on social media all over the place. Otherwise, our website has lots of really great videos and stuff for you to get more information on. But otherwise.
Thank you so much, Paul, for showing us through that. It was an extraordinarily slick solution, and seemed like you kind of got Excel and made it very beautiful in some respects, and brought some real time savers in there. So hopefully people found that really beneficial. As you can see, there was a few questions there. One of them was, if you're using Practice Protect, which is sort of the cybersecurity solution,
yep.
Will the links that you were showing, that you were clicking through on, will they still work? Ooh.
We have a number of clients on AccountKit that use Practice Protect, and we've never had any reports back on any issues at all. The only time we ever create issues with Practice Protect is if we change the login page and it breaks the scripts that enable you to log through. So anytime we make changes these days, we just reach out to the guys at Practice Protect, and they make sure they update their backend. But I can't see any limitations there at all.
Excellent, excellent. And the other question was, do you guys use Office 365 or Google for your practice?
In our own practice, we use.
I'm not sure why he's asking about your own practice.
No, they can ask. I'm happy to talk about our own practice. So our own practice uses Office 365, and we're only really just starting to do the transition ourselves of how we manage ourselves fully in the cloud. Because we're coming from a terminal server background, and everything was stored there, and we're syncing data from our terminal server back to SharePoint. And it's over this next year we'll start saying, okay, to our team, you're going to work 100% within a browser, and you're not going to work outside of that. And we're going to see how that goes, because that means we can then use our SharePoint integration into AccountKit directly from within here as well. So we'll no doubt see a bunch of improvements wrapped around that as our own practice starts to utilize that in more detail.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Now, anyone else? Does anyone else have any other questions for Paul? You can either jump on the screen, turn your video on, ask the question, or pop it into the chat area. But you're most welcome to jump in and ask any questions.
Yeah, anything at all. It can be about our practice. It can be about AccountKit. You name it. Happy to address it. Okay. Oh, doesn't seem we've got a lot of people on, but no questions there. You were showing us the software
tech mapping solution. And is that something that went? Do you get a PNG or a JPEG file or something like that you can then put into something from that?
Yeah, that's a good question. You've got a choice. You can now put it in PDF, which has your own logo at the top, or you can now put it in PNG, and the PNG is a high resolution PNG, so it's really huge, so that you can downscale it, put it into Word documents or Google documents, whatever it is that you want to do as part of your presentation. Yeah.
And do the logos, because you've got the logos up on the side, do they come through automatically, or are you populating the logos?
No, we're popular. Yeah, we're popular. I mean, see, we've still got an old class logo because their new logo is proving troublesome to get into the system. So we take that they're relatively easy to get in. So we use something called an SVG file, and if we can source one of those, then we bring them in. There are some limitations on logos where there are blends. So a good example of that is the new MILB logo has a blend through the middle of it. So we haven't been able to get those with blends in, but most other cases, it literally is only a matter of 5-10 minutes and we can get a new logo in. A good example of that is Anature. We only added that in, I think, about 2 weeks ago when Amrita reached out to us.
Excellent. Oh, thank you for that. There's 1,000 apps in there, so I'm assuming you probably just go focusing on practice apps actually really in there. That would make sense. So
yeah,
but you do actually have a large number that are actually not even practice apps as well. Well, that's cool. Yeah. So someone's asked, is there an estimated time for the workflow tool? Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to start using it within our own practice by the end of this month, and that's really just to tease out issues and make sure some of the assumptions I've made in the design process actually work well. Then we're aiming to go into a closed alpha. That's likely to be around August, September. We'll go into a closed beta towards the end of the year for a release. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, by 2022 January, all things going to plan. So we're running on schedule for the most part, but the first release should be by January.
And someone's asked about pricing. So whatever that you're comfortable with talking about pricing on the session, whether it's all-in-one pricing or it's split up, whether the options to just tackle some of the tools.
Yeah, so we're about to actually go through another revision on pricing. It's one of those things where you start with certain assumptions at the start, and then when you use it for a while, you only realize it doesn't always work the way you hoped it would. So we've already gone through one round of changes. We're going to go through another round later this year. Any current clients will be grandfathered. They'll keep on the old pricing regime, which is a per tool pricing. So you say, I want this tool, and you get to turn it on at any time you like, and then you start paying for it based on the size of your practice. And we gauge size by the number of clients in your client list, and that then sets the price per tool. Otherwise, what we're looking at doing with the new price regime, and we're still nussing that out at the moment, it's more around, so workflow and the CRM elements will be user-based. So it makes sense for them to be user-based. Whereas if you're using something like FYI Docs, you wouldn't use the CRM element, so you just ignore that altogether. And instead, you'd use just the other tools, which will be schedule-based. So if you've got 100 schedules, you'll have maybe 10 parcels of 10 schedules. And it scales much, much better. Current methodology, we found some people would sign up, and their practice is growing really fast. They come in as a boutique practice, and they're putting lots of clients on, and then they hit the small threshold, and their price jumps up. And it's never a good feeling when your price jumps. And we hate the sensation ourselves. We're like, okay, this is not a great solution. So we figured we could make it much more scalable. We're just paying for the schedules as you put them onto the system. You slowly adding parcels, and it just grows with you over time. So yeah, that's the aim at least.
Excellent. Thank you for answering that. There's been a question about whether it works on a mobile device, whether it works on a phone app.
No, we don't have a phone app at the moment. We are doing some tests in that space right now. I want to have a phone app that will surface. I mean, a lot of the tools aren't going to work well on a phone device, but what would be useful when talking with clients is accessing client information, adding correspondence, looking at your workflow, and seeing things like equipment finance while you're out talking to a client. So we want to surface some of that information. So we're going through the early stages of assessing that. And it's looking promising.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for answering that, Paul. Do we have any other questions? Would anyone like to pop their question into the chat area or jump on and ask the question? So we've had further questions about pricing. So the new pricing framework could give access to all tools or still on an as needed basis for each tool?
Okay, so I mean, it will be still on it's on a per tool basis. I mean, even now the tools are on a per tool basis. So you can actually jump in and play with all the tools. There's freebies. So say, for example, interest loan, and you're thinking, I'm not sure if it'll suit me. You can actually just play with it for free. And when you get up to 10, it's at that point there, if you feel like there's good value and you can justify the cost, then you come into the subscription page and you just toggle it on. And at that point there, you start paying for whatever it is. In this case here, this is a boutique. So there's your cost. You'd say, okay, can I justify $50 per month to have that tool turned on? The other savings there is the value there. And at that point, you turn it on. The new pricing regime will be similarish. There'll still be freebies, and there will still probably be a toggle, but the toggle is really just to say, to let the team have permission to start adding extra schedules beyond the freebie limit, knowing that it will change the subscription value over time. Does that answer the question?
Hopefully. Yes, awesome. So really, if there are freebies in there, people should be jumping on and starting with the freebies, testing them out, working that, and you know, and if it does work for them, move on to the paid subscription, because for many people here, $50 should be about, if it's saving them 15 minutes work, that should be covering it off for them. So one would hope that they would see the value in it, but depending on their client base and depending on what's happening with them. Awesome. Any other questions from, we've had a late attendee join us now, but does anyone else have any other questions? Does anyone want to jump in and ask Paul a question? Oh, look, he's going to.
I'm just going to show you something else. Like, if you want to know a bit more about some of the tools, because I didn't cover all the tools, on our main website, if you scroll to the bottom of the first page, you can see there's a bunch of webinars. So there's a recording of the overview. That's me going through everything across AccountKit. But this one here, the tools in brief, is also really invaluable. So this is just showing each of the tools in action in 2 minutes. And so there's no talking, it's just showing the tool being used. And that's often a problem I find with applications. I can't tell how a tool works, I just want to see it. So this just shows the tool in action and what to expect. And it's a great little precursor. If you're trying to get the rest of your team on board with a new tool, you say, well, let's start here. Have a look at the video. Does that look interesting? Is that a good starting point? And that's a great place to start.
Yeah, and they're small enough to take on without it actually being a, we need to plan for capacity, we need to learn all of this stuff. It's something like it looks like something that you could take on with a sort of maybe 90 minutes of sort of learning and understanding of it, and bam, I can sort of take it on and roll it out across all my client base for those, especially as you've got sort of multiple little tools there.
Yeah, exactly. I think it takes a bit of the pressure off as well, because it's enough drama learning a new tool, full stop. And often people that are coming on to AccountKit might have just moved to XPM recently, and the team are already still traumatized with the transition. So here we'd say, take the pressure off, play with the freebies, just ignore all the tools and just pick one and play with it. Get familiar with it. It's like learning a new language. Once you've got your head around it at a high level, the rest of the tools will come easy in time. But just take the pressure off, just focus on one little area at first.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's great. Thank you very much, Paul. Now, if there's no more questions, I can't see anything coming through. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us here today for the Lunch and Learn. We really appreciate your time and answering all of our questions.
No worries. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the invite. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I always love doing this stuff, so feel free to reach out if you've got questions at all.
It absolutely looks like you love doing it. Very much passionate about the solution that you've created there. And everyone's saying, thanks for a great session, Paul.